This BizNews production is brought to you by Brenthurst Wealth, a multi-award-winning, truly independent boutique wealth manager. Invest better with Brenthurst. Okay, you got your microphone there. You mentioned the Western Cape towards the end, which is interesting. Is the rest of the country ready for a Western Cape type of makeover?
The rest of the country, you see, if you talk to, I've done some stupid. One of the things I know about myself is that I can be stupid. Recently, stupidly, I endorsed Helen Zille, by the way, for Johannesburg, as mayor of Johannesburg. Publicly, I said I endorse Helen Zille. She reached out to me and said she couldn't believe. I said, yeah, I mean it, Helen. I want you to be mayor of Johannesburg. To answer your question, there is no black person I've spoken to in Johannesburg who said to me, but Prince, you are crazy. How could you do that? Privately. You know what they say? They say, you know what? We will vote for her. We'll vote for her secretly. Yeah. These are my friends. The elites, black. They say, you know what? We will vote for her secretly. You know why? Because they have now seen what the ANC is capable of doing. And they are sick and tired of it. So I think that the country is ready for a Western type kind of governance model. But having said that, people must never interpret that to mean that the rest of the country is ready for white South Africans alone to govern South Africa. No, don't misinterpret that. Black South Africans are ready now to co-govern with white South Africans. That's very important.
Yeah, I don't think there's any white person who's outside of an insane asylum who thinks that they can run the country. It's just insane. It doesn't, that the numbers, the demographics don't work up. But I think that there are lots of very competent white people who would like to be involved in the solution and feel that they've been prevented from it. So maybe as a society, we finally maturing to a point where we can work together. I know you weren't talking about the national dialogue, but what were you talking about where we start coming together more, those from different backgrounds, to actually make a solution?
I'm talking about a process similar to what happened in the early 90s that led to the democratic era. You could say that CODESA was a national dialogue, and it was public, and people met in Kempton Park and negotiated and so on. But that was not the real thing, actually. In the main, that was a show. The real thing was actually behind the scenes. It started in London, it went to Lusaka, and there were meetings between the black and the white elites who understood that it was their responsibility to make sure that South Africa doesn't fall apart. My worry now is that maybe I'm not aware, but I think I have a good ear for what is going on in South Africa, is that these elites it doesn't seem that there are black and white elites somewhere who feel and think that it is their responsibility to lead this country. They don't need to be public about such projects. They must recognize that we are on the brink of collapse and we need to turn around this ship. Therefore, they must talk and say, guys, how do we rescue it? I don't think a process like that is underway. That's what I'm talking about. It's not a national dialogue. It's national dialogue. You will have a mad guy who's going to grab the mic. You saw it at UNISA, right? And start insulting. I mean, you cannot build a country like that. That's what I'm talking about.
Thank you. I will take that under advisement, and we'll see what we can do about that. Leadership, next group. Have you identified any leaders, political, business, that might step up?
Here is the thing. I am privileged in the sense that I don't know what sins I've committed. I get invited to all manner of things where I shouldn't be there. What I see is that South Africa has amazing talent, unbelievable talent. I just get blown when I sit in these meetings and thinking, my goodness, is this chap, this lady a South African? Here is what has happened. The best among us they think that politics is an arena of scoundrels. Politics an arena of scoundrels. And they're not wrong, by the way, to think that way. I also think the majority of people in parliament are scoundrels. You can see those clowns wearing red overalls and screaming. And the talented South Africans don't want to go there. And they say, but me going there and be screamed at by those idiots. I mean, I was in trouble because I called someone an idiot here when in March. I don't care. I'm still alive. So we need to get these elites. We need to get to a point where they understand that if you leave politics to scoundrels, parliament to scoundrels, they're going to mess up your life. So they need to come up with a process where they will transform our political culture and make sure that scoundrels don't go there. Scoundrels know that that's not our place. Just like scoundrels know that the private sector is not their place. Because if a scoundrel thinks that they can go to the private sector is a harsh. By the way, one of the things I do, I sell cars. So I know it's harsh. So that's the problem, Alec, is that in South Africa, talent is there, but it does not want to go to the political arena. The elites that I'm talking about must think of how do we make sure that that talent is motivated to go into the political arena to replace the scoundrels.
But it's a global phenomenon. I remember, must be 15 years ago, reading a leader in the Economist, where they were bewailing the fact that David Cameron and co. weren't the first 11, they weren't the second 11, but maybe they were the third 11, to use a cricket parlance, that the better people had decided to leave not to get involved in politics because it was underpaid, overworked, and underappreciated when you were good. And of course, there were lots of scoundrels around, as you say. So that's quite a transition. Is there not another way? Is there not a different system that might be brewing here in our country?
You can say that it's a global thing, but you're not quite correct, by the way, because you see that opinion, Alec, in the main, people form that opinion on the basis of observing Western politics. You could say, yes, they need to say that, they need to look in the West because that's where democracy thrives. I hear that. But look at Asia. Look at a country like China, by the way. In China, scoundrels have no place in their politics. I mean, look at the leadership of the Communist Party, by the way. No. Look at the leadership of the Communist Party. Those guys are not the West of the Chinese. You may have a different view. I'll give you another example, which is an old model, which is what Henry Kissinger calls the strategy of merit, Lee Kuan Yew in Singapore. So I'm saying a society can choose which model to follow. It doesn't mean that the world is not in disorder or this and that, but a society can choose which model to follow. And my suggestion is that we have now reached a point in South Africa where the scoundrels have done too much damage. And if the meritocratic stratum does not jump into that space, the society will collapse. We can have a debate over China.
Yeah, I think we will at some point on that one. But the fact that we are heading for change, there's no question, and it's not difficult to work that one out. That also brings opportunity. What opportunity is there in this? There's always opportunity in chaos. We do, by what you were saying earlier, it's going to be an interesting ride over the next 15 years. Do you see opportunity that might exist during that time?
Here's the thing. So the National Party collapses, there is an opportunity. But that opportunity, we know who's going to take up that opportunity, the ANC. It's obvious.
Okay.
Yeah. That was not really an opportunity because we could tell who's going to grab that. So if you wanted to grab that, you were interested, you knew you wouldn't make it because the next guys were known. This is a real opportunity, the first opportunity in more than 70 years. Because you like have a tabula rasa. You can write whatever you want. So these elites that I'm talking about if there is a moment where they can actually do something and write what they want, it's this one. Because the next guys to take over are not obvious. So this is actually a real opportunity. It's the realignment moment to use a political science speak. That's the moment that allowed a guy like Obama in the US, by the way, to just get into that space.
You mentioned, and thank you, because that contextualizes it very well, the moment that we're at in South Africa at the moment, right now. But there's also a lot of plundering you were talking about, a lot of looting, and if you step away from it for a moment and think about what is the biggest pot that you can loot, it's got to be the public sector pension fund, the PIC. What are you hearing from what happens there? Because it's almost like it's the last big, juicy golden bowl that exists in South Africa, certainly in the public sector.
Yeah, but that has been handed over to the PIC in the main.
The PIC I'm talking about.
Yeah. That has been handed over to the PIC. And the good thing about the PIC is that its investments are public. So we know where the PIC is investing. But it doesn't mean that the politicians are not looting there. They are looting a bit, but not on a massive scale because the investments of the PIC are public, number one. Number two,
so they're looting, but not on an industrial scale, not a Gupta scale.
No. The pension funds. No, you remember you asked me a question about the pension fund. You didn't ask me.
Well, the PIC, what I'm talking about, the PIC, Public Investment Commissioners, the public sector pension funds, which we will fund in time as taxpayers, by the way.
The other protection with regard to specifically the pension funds is that the unions have an interest in there. They are watching. They don't want
the unions.
The unions have an interest in there. They are watching what is happening to their money. And the comrades are sensitive to that because the unions are their comrades. That's the protection with regard to specific to pensions. But outside that, pensions, they are generally looting because there's still something to loot. Remember, every year there's a budget that is presented. There's a budget vote by a minister, and in that department there are tenders. That's what they are looting, and that's where they are looting.
Okay, South Africa, and I love the point that you made there about South Africa being a small neighborhood. I had the same feeling, not just in China, but in India. Mm-hmm. The issues, the challenges that are faced by India and China make our problems look pretty small. So what would it take to sort this place out quickly?
At the risk of repeating myself, leadership. You see, during the Second World War, Churchill addressed a small group of American students. One of the students asked, Mr. Prime Minister, I'm young, I'm studying here. If I want to be a statesman, what must I do? Churchill bangs the table 3 times. Read the history. So I banged the table 3 times. Leadership. If we don't focus on that, let me tell you, we will not reverse this. We have to focus on it systematically, this question of leadership.
Let's get those leaders emerged. Prince, here's a question, there's a lot for you, from Jacques. He says, in your opinion, which political party will win the majority of votes in the 2029 national elections, and by what margin? Are the ANC resigned to the fact that they will lose power in 29? And do you anticipate they'll allow free and fair elections and a peaceful transition?
Oh, look, I mean, every liberation movement, if it had its way, wouldn't allow free and fair elections. And the ANC also wouldn't allow that. But the South African elections are very difficult to steal. You know, I've been saying this, people say, yeah, they're very, very difficult to steal. And it's simple how it works as compared to Zimbabwe. In Zimbabwe, you vote here. After voting, your votes are not counted where you have voted. They're transported somewhere to be counted and tallied. And when they're transported, that's where things happen. We don't transport votes in South Africa after voting. Where we have voted, that's where we count. What we transport are the final figures. We tell Pretoria, in KwaDukuza, this ward, here are the numbers. But the good thing about it, those numbers in KwaDukuza are confirmed in the presence of party agents. So whatever lands up in Pretoria, the party agents must sign and say, I was there, I saw it. Then Pretoria can capture that. That's why the ANC, it's very difficult for the ANC to steal elections. So yes, there will be free and fair elections. Doesn't mean that there will not be a problem here and there. Every election from 1994, there have always been glitches here and there. But in the main, the final outcome reflects the will of the people. So the other aspect, which party will win a majority? This is what I remember. I said I'm stupid. I've been stupid to predict numbers. You know, in 2024, this is what I stupidly predicted. I said the ANC was going to get 38% in 2024. They got 39%. That's how stupid I am. Let me tell you, the ANC in 2029 will get less than 20%. I'm stupid. But just look at, where does my stupidity come from? Look at Cyril, he gets 57%, right? The next election, what does he get? 39%. Let's assume that they will lose by the same margin. Where does that take you? From 39%?
90.
Exactly. Now, here is a question you must ask yourself. Is there something that has happened or that is happening now that will boost the confidence of the electorate to say, we want to reward the ANC? My answer is no. In fact, my ear tells me South Africans are heartful. Excuse the... They are angry. What I'm hearing from both blacks and whites is that they wish 2029 was here to teach the ANC a lesson. The ANC is going to be taught a big lesson. That's one. Two, the ANC is going to be hit hard in 2 provinces in the main. Actually 3, but the third one. One, it's KZN. KZN will be governed by Umkhonto weSizwe after the 2029 election with a majority, without a doubt, provided Zuma is still alive. That's number one. And that will hit the ANC at a national level, by the way. 2, it's Gauteng. Gauteng has been, the ANC has been going like this. Why? That's where there is the highest concentration of the middle class. The middle class are angry. They will punish the ANC. Third, it's a component of Mpumalanga. Look at the decline in Mpumalanga, by the way. I mean, I have friends in the provincial government of Mpumalanga. They were trembling. And they know, by the way, I talked to them. They know they're not coming back. Just 51%, they're not coming back. Why? Because Mpumalanga borders KZN. So there is a Zulu component in terms of the population of Mpumalanga. So if I look at all of this, I see the ANC below 20% in 2029. I see the DA around 24, very difficult to cross the 25% mark. And I see Umkhonto weSizwe crossing the 20% mark. That's what I see, the EFF stagnating. That's the picture I am seeing. There will still be a coalition government. The DA and the ANC could still constitute inverted commas. I mean, this language of government of national unity, it's not a government of national, it's a coalition government, to be honest. They could still constitute that, assisted by smaller parties, but it will be a very slim majority and very shaky. And it will depend on who leads the ANC, by the way, who emerges successful in the 2027 National Conference of the ANC, which is going to be very messy and very chaotic.
Is R.W. Johnson right when he says that the ANC elective conferences are auctions? They aren't actually elections?
No, by the way, I think that's an understatement. Is there something worse than an auction? Yeah, so the ANC is worse than an auction. The guy who has the biggest money bag gets it. Simple. It works like that from branch all the way to Cyril Ramaphosa. That's how Cyril Ramaphosa became president of the ANC. And this is going to unsettle some of you here in this room. Because, you see, when you think of the ANC and money bags, you think these black scoundrels in the ANC. No. Look at who gave Cyril Ramaphosa money. He was actually given money in the main by white business people. Correct. That money bag was filled by white business people. Yeah.
They're pretty pissed off about it now.
Yeah, but I told them, by the way, they don't listen. I told them, I said, this chap, you are betting, you are riding a wrong horse. I said, this chap is incompetent, he's useless. At the time, white business actually didn't like to hear from me. But I'm very glad that they've bent their fingers. Maybe they'll wake up.
Johan Leroux's got a lesson from Mauritius. He says, why does the diverse population work there? Driven by government and understood that we need to get along to go along. Would not attract investment in tourism if society was at odds with one another.
It's Lee Kuan Yew's strategy, by the way, because Singapore is exactly like that. The strategy of merit. If you have got a meritocratic leadership that understands the dynamics of its society, number one. Number two, that understands the importance of inclusion. That everyone, every group must feel that this thing is theirs. You see, that's the thing about South Africa. Our politics is divisive. It makes us feel that it's not my thing. So you need a leadership that will deliberate. Number one, it's meritocratic. So it doesn't matter whether you are black or white. When you look, you say, but that chap is skilled, white or black. And then that leadership must have the consciousness to say, this belongs to all of us. That's the only formula that can work in South Africa, let me tell you. Nothing else will work. So again, I bang the table, leadership.
Yeah. Rob Hersoff, question to Prince, 2029 prediction percentage for ANC, DA, MK, other. You've already given us that, so I can move on. Jacques asks, how do you expect MKP to perform in KZN and Gauteng in the local government elections?
They will not make much progress in both provinces. You see, the MKP suffers the same stigma suffered by the EFF. The local leaders of the EFF in communities are considered as scoundrels. Communities don't trust them. That's why if you look at the EFF, it does well proportionally when it comes to local government, but it does badly when it comes to direct elections. Why? Because their councillors are not trusted. The MKP is perceived like that. So they will make, proportionally, they will do well. But in terms of direct councillors, I think they won't do that well. Having said that, remember this will be their first election in terms of local government elections. They will register an impressive presence for themselves for the first time. So at the end of the day, they will pat themselves on the back because they will register some, but it's not going to be dramatic, like 25%. I think they'll be around, give or take, 14%, almost where they are currently at a national level.
You know a lot about Action SA. What about Floyd Shivambu's new party? Are they going to have an impact?
No. There's no party there. Look, that whole thing is about, let's just cut to the chase. That whole thing is about one man who has lost positions in different political parties, who no longer has an income, and he wants to earn a salary. Full stop. Full stop. So, and yes, he knows the game. What do? You go around confusing a few souls, and they vote for you, and you end up wearing a suit in parliament. That's the crux of Floyd Chiwambu's project. He is not hoping to run some big stuff. He just wants to have a salary. He is not different from, by the way, Musi, his party. There are two human beings in parliament for Bossa, right? It's good for them. They're earning. But really, is there a party in South Africa called Bossa? No, there isn't. That's Floyd Chiwambu's part.
I never realized quite what you were saying until the Sunday show last week, where we were told what these politicians actually earn and how their medical aid works and how they go to the top of donors lists. And it's a pretty cool place to be if you're a politician.
Yeah, here's the thing. I mean, I don't want to go into politics. The reason why I don't want to go into politics is this. And people say, please, can't you go to politics? No, it's because I can generate an income for my children outside politics. I'm not disparate. But you see, if you are disparate in South Africa, politics is the easiest route. It's the easiest route. You just confuse a few souls, give them a few T-shirts, and boom, you earn 1.2 million per annum. My goodness. Yeah. That's how it works. Good medical aid. You've got a number of flights guaranteed.
Free housing,
and all of that. It's the easiest route. So that's why I'm suggesting to you, Alec, we need to change this culture. We must have a new political culture that will make it very difficult for scoundrels to go into parliament. Then the scoundrels are going to be forced to go to school and become really skilled human beings in order for them to do what normal human beings do, which is you go to school, you get a job, or you go into entrepreneurship and you start a business.
Andre Kravagen's got a question that actually follows really nicely from that. We saw who the PA put into parliament as their MPs. Those kids, there's no way they would be earning over R1 million a year at their stage of life. Is that a party that is still on the ascendancy, or is it one that has been exposed?
It will go nowhere. I can tell you. The PA started, and they were Gaten McKenzie was more honest in the beginning. Now he has learned the art of confusing souls. He was honest in the beginning to say this is a party for colored people. In the beginning, that's how he marketed. And I know they are friends with Rob. I'm also friends with Rob. So, but he has now changed because he realizes that if he says it's a party for colored people, there's a ceiling. So he wants to confuse more souls, and in particular black souls, to vote for. But I can tell you, it's not going to grow much. At a national level, for the next 15, 20 years, the PA will not touch 8%. Live and I live. I'm not casing it. My analysis tells me it's not going to get there.
What about MK? And here's a Brett Geddes' question. When JZ finally passes?
It blows up in smoke. And it's interesting, by the way. So I like I told you, I'm stupid. So I say a lot of stupid things about MK and this and that. Recently, I'm not going to tell you names. I got a call from a senior MK leader who has been insulting me in public because I said something about the ANC that he agrees with. But then he tells me that he now agrees with me about what's going to happen to MK because he has seen it inside. It's chaos. There is no party called the MK in South Africa. That thing is a family affair of the Zumas run by the children. And Zuma is using it, by the way, to collect rent from parliamentarians. I mean, every parliamentarian of the MK, by the way, has to contribute every month 10,000 rand into an account controlled by Zuma. That's how it works. Yes. Just go check it for yourself. Yeah. So this thing is a money collection mechanism for Zuma and his children. The day Zuma collapses, and Zuma will collapse very soon. And when I say this, you are insensitive, Zuma is the same age as my mother. Yeah, my mother is alive. Me and my siblings, we talk about the fact that the end is near. For my mother. I mean, death is not some mysterious thing. It will happen. I will die myself. Even Zuma will die. We know how old he is. So when he collapses, the fights that you are going to witness there, you have not seen something like that. It's gonna be, the fights have begun now. That's how Floyd was kicked out. That's how Jimmy was kicked out as a parliamentary caucus leader. Even Tope is unhappy. There is no one other than the Zumas who are happy in MK as we speak. So when I analyze and project the future, I actually don't count the MK part because I know exactly what's going. I mean, he says that we must acknowledge that we don't know the future. I don't know much about the future, but I know the MK will blow up the day Zuma collapses.
What keeps you hopeful about our country?
A number of things. Number one, we have one of the most beautiful countries in the world. Without, and this is said by someone like you guys, most of you here, you have traveled. You know what I'm talking about. This country is one of the most beautiful countries in the world. Our living standards. You know, a middle-class fellow like me, essentially I live like a king compared to my counterpart in Europe, in Western Europe. I mean, when my counterpart come here and visit me, they say, Prince.
Well named.
You see, my father was a peasant, so he had these ambitions of wanting to be a king, and he died a peasant. So that's number one. Because of that, let me tell you, forget about this mad chap in the White House. The overwhelming majority of Afrikaners are not going to the US. I can tell you, are not leaving this country. They are here to stay. Just look at the investments they are making, the physical infrastructure they are making. You will see they're building universities in this country, right? They are building a private state in South Africa, by the way. Private gated communities, private this, private that. So these are not people who are living. So that component is staying. Number three, we are a rich country, by the way. We're not a Guinea-Bissau. We are actually a rich country. If we were to sort out our leadership nonsense and our politics, let me tell you, this country would, in 5 years' time, this country can take off. We have a lot natural resources and all of that stuff. And if we were to sort out that stuff, a lot of people would actually descend to South Africa, even to come and live here. I mean, look at what is happening in the Western Cape, foreigners buying properties here.
Yeah.
Right?
What?
Yes. Yeah. So there is a lot going for us. I have hope. If things were to go bad, really, really bad, like rock bottom, you know what South Africa would end up like? Not like a Zimbabwe, and I've said this. It would end up like a Nigeria. Zimbabwe and Nigeria have ended differently, by the way. Nigeria, you've got a millionaire who's got high walls here. He's enjoying life. He's not going to live in the US. Next to him, he doesn't see this neighbor who lives in a shack. That's Nigeria. That's the model that would happen if we were to go bad, but I don't think we'll get there. So I think, and lastly, we have talent here. I mean, the people in this room, bit.
We've got talent to burn in South Africa, but we've also got some really dumb policies. There's no question. Anybody looking at it can say, but it's pretty easy. You don't tax investment. I mean, why would you tax investment? Maybe you tax it when it leaves, maybe, but you don't try and tax it before it comes in. And as a consequence of that, we're talking about BEE now. How much of that reality is how much of that penny is dropping?
It troubles me, but I'm not as worried as most people are. You know why? Because I know the ANC, I told you. Just look at the numbers and the trajectory. The ANC is getting out of government. So if you're still worried about the policies of the ANC, you're stuck in the past. You don't see what is in front of you. So all of these ANC policies, let me tell you, have come to an end. I mean, I can't die, and when I get buried, you are still worried about what I used to do. No, I'm dead. I'll get buried. I go with what I used to do. So the ANC has reached the end. And because they have destroyed our country so much, they have created a mental climate that allows for open-mindedness. So those guys that I say they must look at the tabula rasa and write what they like. Society is going to be open for experimentation politically. That gives me hope.
Last question from Ignis Leroux. He hasn't had a chance yet, so let's give you this one. It is encouraging to hear that the political looters will be caught and arrested, but will we be able to recover the loot? And how should this money be utilized?
No, I mean, some of it, by the way, a great deal of it won't be recovered. We must just accept. But whatever we can recover, we can recover. So we'll go around taking people's houses, physical assets. So follow the money, or this chap has a house here, has a house there, has this, that. We will do that. But that's not the most important part. It's not to recover the loot. The most important part is, one, to set an example that what these scoundrels have done, you must never try it, because eventually you will be caught and you will be punished. That, for me, is the important thing. So we need to set an example. That's what Lee Kuan Yew did in Singapore. So that we get a clerk in some department to know that when I come as a citizen, they must not ask for cold drink. A traffic cop somewhere on the road, if I have committed an offense, this person must give me a ticket. And the clerk and the traffic cop will be the first to stop. You know why? If you target the guys at the top, arrest them, lock them up, they are seen in jail and nobody defends them, the clerk will say, my goodness, if they can arrest that chap, that powerful chap, what about me? Let me stop what I'm doing. That, for me, is what we need to do to set an example. The loot, if we can recover a bit here and there, the better. But that's not the most important part.
Prince Mashele, thank you.
Thank you.
This BizNews production is brought to you by Brenthurst Wealth, South Africa's leading boutique wealth manager, trusted to guide families for over 20 years. Invest better with Brenthurst.